Right, hello, and my name is Trailer Fitter, or Chris, whichever you like to call me. The hint in my name of what my profession is that I'm a commercial vehicle technician. I also like these things here, Land Rovers, and I'm very mechanically, technically minded, which means I like problems and I like to find solutions to problems.
Down there, don't you?
Now, I will say more about this later in this video, but basically what I'd like to do is to address Canadian Prepper's video about fat loss, okay, by exercise. Now, you won't lose a lot of fat by exercising, however hard you push yourself, unless you give your body a chance to burn fat, okay? Now, I'm not against the idea of that, and I must say I do enjoy Canadian Prepper's videos. There's a lot of information there that's spot on, but I want to address this, okay? Basically, a year ago I was a porker. I was overweight. Before then I had diabetes 2, which is a dietary disease, and it's very relevant today, as with obesity as well. A lot of people are looking for some sort of solution to losing weight. Okay, now I have a hard job. It's a lot of lifting, a lot of pushing, and yeah, you could say that I work my nuts off 8 hours a day, okay, 5 days a week, or even longer sometimes. The thing is that I didn't lose any weight at all, even with going on to maybe a vegetarian diet and a vegan diet. Yeah, it didn't work, it just did not work. So my story, I'll relate this to myself, but it does relate to prepping and survival, okay? Now basically I am a prepper in my head. Now I think that all things come down to knowledge first of all, and yeah, I could get out of the shit mechanically if needed to. I can help people, doesn't matter. Okay, that's one side of it. But what I found, especially when you get diabetes 2 and insulin resistance, you get hyperglycemic. Your blood sugars drop and you're desperate to eat. Yeah, just desperate. And this is part of the one of the things that I was looking for, was a solution to this, which is relevant to prepping, because if you are running out of food, you haven't got enough food, you're going to be desperate. And hunger is one of the things that drives people to do stupid things. Okay, we're a desperate situation, desperate times, you get desperate people. I mean, in the UK, you only need to see Christmas times and bank holidays. People actually go and buy more food than they need because they think the shops are going to shut the next day, when they're not. They just, it's craziness. Anyway, back to the storyline, okay? So, like I say, exercise however much you do and push yourself hard. You do it to get fit. Yes, you do need it for survival. You need to be as fit as you possibly can, because there's times when you're going to need to be able to learn, when you've learned the endurance, and pushing yourself beyond is to push yourself a little bit further, right? So, anyway, hear me out. With regards to diets, okay, and losing weight, that's the only way you can do it. And like I said, I was a porker. You can see what I'm like now. My body weight has dropped dramatically in the last 2 months. In the last week I was ill, I've lost even more. Okay, and I've done this by the ketogenic diet. Okay, yeah, I can probably hear a few people now clicking off saying, "Oh, fuck that, that's not right." But this is very, very relevant, because a low carbohydrate, high fat diet, and it puts your body into survival mode, okay, which you could say if you were starving and all you could eat was fat, okay, your body would then not have enough glucose or glycogen, right, in your liver to be able to give you energy, so it has to find it from somewhere. So it would use the fat, and it uses it very, very well, very efficiently. Fat is very nutrient dense, okay. Obviously on a ketogenic diet you eat vegetables, but very low amount of carbohydrates, 30 grams, 80 grams by calories of fat, and about 20 grams of protein, okay, for your calorie intake per day. Now what happens is, if you go into a fat deficit, i.e. your calories are low, your body gets fat adapted on the ketogenic diet, which means that it will go for your body fat. And it will eat and use that body fat via a chemical reaction. Obviously, it will burn it off. It gives you energy, sustained energy, and to be honest with you, you're not hungry. Okay, the difference between somebody who is on a carbohydrate diet, insulin controls your hunger and your intake, and you will be hungry every 2 hours. You want to eat, you get tired, it demands sugar, you burn that off very, very quickly when you exercise, and you can very, very quickly get yourself into a state when you get tired, worn out. Okay, with burning fats, you don't do that. Okay, the difference with a ketogenic diet is that you have to get fat adapted first, and this comes with survival as well. If you're already fat adapted, you're keto adapted, and you have to go for a period without eating, that's not a problem. With fasting, this is another way of losing weight, is training your body to go past hunger. It's then not relying on your glucose stores. What it will do is it will deplete those to the point where you then have to go ketogenic. Again, ketogenesis is going on. You've got neoglucogenesis, which will make the sugars in your body to keep you, supply your brain and keep glycogen in your liver. But what happens is it goes into a different mode where you don't feel hungry. It will keep you alive until you can get your next meal. Now, some people do fasts of 12 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours, 32 hours a week, 2 weeks, 32 days, and they survive very, very well on it. They thrive on it. There's a lot to it. Now, what I'm saying here is that the lazy man's, if you like, way of losing weight and understanding the body and the nutrition, what macros you can do with your body and how your body works, makes a difference between survival and not, in my opinion. Okay, I just want to get a little bit technical here because it's very relevant to survival, shit hits the fan stuff, and to modern day. Again, this is proven scientific fact. It's not something that's just written on the internet, because you have a lot of doctors that are now coming out and telling us exactly what's what. Okay, so insulin, that is a very key proponent in the disease diabetes, okay, but it acts in everybody's lives. So basically, when you eat carbohydrates, you are releasing sugars into your blood, your insulin comes along, it mops it up, it stores glucose in your muscles, you have glycogen stored in your liver, and then anything that's left over is stored as triglycerides or body fat, okay. What should happen, okay, is you have also a hormone called leptin, which deals with adipose body fat, and if your insulin level is low enough, it will take and mobilize body fats and then to be utilized as energy. Okay, but what we find is, because we have a very gluttonous diet, I don't know, the Western diet is that we've got plenty of food, so there's carbohydrates everywhere. Our insulin levels stay relatively high, so we cannot metabolize the fats. Okay, this is why you find a lot of people that eat an American standard diet, for instance, they wonder why they can't lose weight. This is why, is because of their insulin levels. So if you drop your insulin levels right down by fasting or a ketogenic diet, what happens is it gives your body a chance to mobilize the fat and to use it. This is the key thing. Now, when you're using fat, it actually turns into ketones, and that is the energy bodies which give you energy. There's also a benefit to this, and I'll tell you here. There's certain things that are with the ketone, which is something called beta hydroxybutyrate, which in the 1920s they were using the ketogenic diet for people with seizures, to actually stop seizures. This was children, okay. And the good thing about BHB is that you can actually sense it when you're in keto. You can sense it because the world becomes clearer. Your brain relaxes, your whole body, you actually relax. You're not jittery, and this does actually make a difference because you can cruise along. So if you put yourself into a situation where you've got to go a while without food, and you're in a situation which could be stressful, you've got to clear a head, which makes sense. The exact same thing happens when you're fasting. So you can imagine if you need to go hunting and you're looking for food, you've got clarity, you can sit there for ages and wait for your prey to come along before you pop it off. So it has its benefits. Anyway, I've said this. I'll get back to what I was saying. Now, let me just explain insulin. When you eat sugars, when you eat carbohydrates, insulin acts to store energy into your muscles, and it takes the sugar out of your blood, okay, because you need a certain level of blood sugars, and then anything that's left over is stored as body fat. Okay, so this is why people get fatter and fatter, because they get hungry, they eat carbohydrates, and after a couple of hours, once the insulin level has gone down again, they get hungry again and they want to eat, and so it's a vicious cycle. It's not their fault, okay? It doesn't help with a lot of products having sugar in as well. So basically, you have that system, which is a survival instinct. Your body is doing it because a long time ago, we probably didn't have the amount of food that we do now. They didn't know when the next meal was going to be, and the body would know as well. So it would store what was excess in fat, so when there wasn't anything, it could just take it out and use it easily. Yeah, so there is a difference. If you're not fat adapted, it's a struggle to get to burn the fat. Okay, you feel ill, you feel drowsy and sick and everything else until you actually get into that state. Whereas if you've been on a keto diet and you're fat adapted, you don't feel it, you just go snap straight into it, you know. So yeah. It's just what I want to say is that these diets, the new fad diets, are actually something that should be investigated more with preppers and people who are into survival techniques, because it's not only just for prepping but for general health. Having too much weight is not good. Having some fat is good for survival, obviously, but it seems to be coming out. The doctors now, especially in America, are now starting to say and question the American diet and what's wrong with it and which way we can go to get healthier. But it has its benefits, which I have just underlined. Okay, so that's my 10 pence worth, if you like. Like I say to a Canadian prepper, they're fantastic videos. I've learned a lot myself, especially about the 48 laws of power, which I'm now looking into with my son. He's getting the idea of what people could be like by gaming. I know it sounds a bit off the cuff, but the game is an arena, or should I say gaming is an arena where you have adults and children that they don't abide by the laws. They're doing what the fuck they want, which to an extent you then start to see how things play out, and you get your leaders, you get your alphas, you get your arseholes, and you get your bitches, and to watch it and for him to actually start to understand it, he then sort of relates it to normal life, which okay, some of the games, they are extreme, but if we did get into an extreme situation, he'd be more used to the character type. Tell you something, you understand about people's psychology when you do stuff like this, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about the players that are you're playing with? Are they retards? Are they okay?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
What's the strategy like when it comes to the good ones?
The strategy?
Yeah.
So like talking to them or playing with them?
Well, how they work with people, are they good or not?
Good people, they work pretty well with other people.
Yeah. Would you say that in a situation, a proper real disastrous situation, they would be more useful?
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, you know who to avoid, don't you?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so using my final cut, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, and see you again.